And what I'm wondering is, I remember this issue in previous years. Can you tell me what the purpose is of changing the definition of bedroom in relation to on-site sewage treatment and what ramifications that'll have?
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Chair. That's a good question, Representative. Right now, there's not clarification on what a bedroom is. I know that sounds interesting, but truly isn't. And I actually had a constituent in my district that lives with his wife, no other children or anybody else living in the house, and was because he was building a larger home with a large great room and 2 bedrooms. He had to install the same size septic system as the restaurant had that we were having lunch in that day, and that absolutely makes no sense. And it's a financial burden on our citizens if we don't clarify this, because you are installing septic tanks and septic systems that are too large for the facility.
Follow up, Mr. Chair? Thank you.
Representative Jenne, follow up.
Also, you mentioned, and I found it somewhere in here, but the deletion of the definition of a glass and glazing contractor. First of all, and I'm being probing, but
Sure.
I want to know: is there? Did anyone come forward from the glass and glazing? Is there a glass and glazing association? You know, the contractors. Did anyone come forward? Did the contractors come forward and say delete this? And what's the purpose of deleting it?
Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is something we placed in the bill, in the building code bill. I believe it was last year. It was intended to be, but let me just back up. I'll just make it simple. You got people on both sides of the issue that some people do not want to have a glass and glazing contractor license for statewide issues, which would maybe be a good thing if you're traveling from county to county. And there are other people that believe that if a municipality wants to have a glass and glazing contractor license, that's fine. So we just decided, because there was so much concern, to take it out.
Okay. Follow up, Mr. Chair?
One last one.
Only one. I've only asked 3 questions. Just one last one. I only have 2
We'll
left.
do one at a time.
Okay, that sounds good to me. There is another part of the bill that discusses what appears to be a tax, what are we doing, on line 850 here. And it has to do with the building code and who's exempted from the building code. And from 850 to 861, it's language that essentially seems like a small hunting lodge or a shack of some kind. I'm just right now they're not, and I'm just kind of see what the ramifications are of doing something like this, and how many are there around the state, and how many people are we going to affect?
Representative Davis.
That's a good question. I think this is something that's common sense, and I think that when people have hunting camps that are not connected to utilities, I don't think it's necessary for people to have to follow all of the provisions of the code. I don't think it's really practical. I can't tell you how many people are affected, but I can tell you there are a significant amount of people that have property and like to hunt on their property, and I think, when they're thinking about shelter on a hunting piece of property, it's not the same as what you would think about when people are building a home to live in.
Representative Jenne, why don't we go to the next question on your list?
Please, I'd love to. Thank you. My next question actually has to deal with the same issue, and just kind of the retroactivity of it. I mean, it doesn't go that far. Well, actually, it does go back over a year. The retroactivity back to January 1st, 2011, and its purpose for being here in the strike hall.
Representative Davis.
I'd have to get back to you on that, Representative
Okay,
Jenne.
that's fine. You can
About
get
the date, I'd have to get you the information on that.
Okay. And the last one.
Representative Jenne, last one. Thank you.
Thank you. And the final question deals with line 953 all the way through line 1009. And that's setting up what appears to be a work group, that the Florida Building Commission will set up a work group, the work group has quite a few members, but I'm really, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to see is what it will be the fiscal impact of implementing this, and does the Building Commission have the funds, or do we need to appropriate more funds in order to have the work group develop rules implementing an alternative design method for screen enclosures?
Representative Davis.
Good question. I think this is pretty important because I think there's some new techniques that will be able to help save more of the primary structure in a high windstorm if we come up with these techniques. And I think the idea was we get the work group together that understands and is actually part of this industry to be able to come up with the best management practices for this provision. There is no fiscal impact, but I think it would save the insurance industry and the state of Florida millions and millions of dollars whenever we have a high windstorm and the screen enclosure doesn't rip the rest of the roof off.